Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, I am going to cover another real-world example, that financial transaction analysis for a bank. Nowadays, we are actually doing lots of transaction day by day. Now over there we can easily identify, we can analyze the data, and based on that we can do some kind of activities, like we can easily calculate the total deposit and the withdrawal for particular customer. Next we can also do, means we can identify the suspicious transaction from the list of transaction. If anything is present over there, so we can easily means we can find out or identify the suspicious transaction. Group transactions by customers, calculate net balance for each customer. Most frequent transaction type. Transaction type, like based on the type we can also identify like which one is the most frequent transaction type. Regional transaction summary. So this kind of activity we can generate using the Java stream. So this is another session or another tutorial using the Java stream, how we are going to find out the or we can analysis the financial transaction for a bank. So this is a basically continuation tutorial of my last tutorial. In my last session or last tutorial, couple of tutorials I have covered that how we are going to use the advanced Java stream using this for different types of example. Now in this session I am going to cover that financial transaction analysis using Java stream. So for that basically we are going to create one DTO, that transaction DTO, that is a transaction model. Over here we are going to creating different types of fields like transaction ID, customer ID, type, amount, date and location. So these are the fields basically we are going to create for this particular DTO. Also we are going to create like getter and setter method for this. So let me create this DTO first. If you see that transaction class we have created, right? So transaction ID, then customer ID, this is the type of transaction, either it will be deposit, that means debit, credit, or withdrawal means debit. Amount, date and the location. Here it's a argument like if you see that it's a parameterized constructor, all the parameter with that it's a parameterized constructor we have created, and then it's a getter setter, and then we are printing the data using the toString. So this is about the transaction one. Next we are going to create one main class over here, where we are going to first of all generate the dummy data for doing the transactions, and then we are going to doing those we are going to apply those operations. So let me add the dummy data over here. So this is a list of transaction actually. If you see over here like this transaction, and here in the parameterized constructor we are passing all the details over here. These are the transaction type, deposit, withdrawal, then amount, local date and the location, right? So these are the list of transaction, and with this transaction we are going to filter out the data based on the type. So first of all we are going to calculating the total deposit and the withdrawal from this list of transactions. How we are going to doing that? So this one actually based on the transaction type, there is one type, right? So based on the type we can filter out, and we are summing out the data, and then we are easily calculate the total deposit from the list of transaction. So if you see that transaction.stream, then we are filtering the transaction type based on the deposit, and we are summing out the amount over here. Then we are just doing the sum of it. Similar of this total withdrawal, instead of the deposit, here we are going to use the withdrawal. Now we are just print the data here. Now let me run this one as Java application. So if you see, this is the total deposit and this is the total withdrawal. Okay. Next, we are going to find out the suspicious transaction. So here basically we can do some kind of like add some kind of extra logic. Let's say if we did some kind of activities that total amount will be, if it will be greater than 10,000, then might be it will be a, we can treat it as a suspicious transaction, right? So here for that we are going to add this logic in a filter areas like t dot get amount will be greater than 10,000, then maybe we can treat it as a suspicious transaction. Obviously there are some other parameters for identifying that if it is a suspicious transaction or not. This is just similar kind of like small just activities that we can do in our way, but in a real time obviously there are some more identification things, more identifier is needed to identify any transaction is a suspicious or not. Then we are just printing the data using this. Okay, so using that we can find out that which transaction are suspicious or not. So here we have added that if the transaction amount will be greater than 10,000, then those transaction will be treated as a suspicious. So here it printing the two records over here. Okay. Next we can like group transaction by customer. So let me write the code for it. Okay, so here if you see, we are what we are doing, we are just transaction dot stream, then we are doing the grouping by based on the customer ID. So based on the customer it will grouping the transaction over here. So if you see, one customer can have the multiple transaction, so transaction ID will be the key, and the other than this will be the list of transaction will be the for the particular customer ID, and here we are printing the data. Let me run this application. Now if you see over here, transactions grouped by the customer. So this is the customer ID C002 and it's having a 2 transactions. Similar for the C001, it's having a 3 transaction. C004, it's having a 2 transaction. Means we are grouping the customer ID and then it's having a list of transaction. So this will be the, in this way basically we can grouping the transaction for customer. Next we can calculate the net balance for each customer. Calculate the net balance for each customer. So here again like we are going to grouping by this one like this customer ID, and then if it is a deposit then we are summing out this amount. If it is a withdrawal then we are just minusing this one, because let's say we are doing deposit 10,000 and withdraw 5,000, then the net balance of this one 10,000 minus 5,000, right, will be the 5,000. So that's why here we are grouping by this customer ID, and then we are amount, we are summation those amount. Then if it is a deposit then we are just taking the amount. If it is a not deposit means withdrawal, then we are taking the means we are deducting that particular amount from the total balance. Now we can run this application so that we can get the net balance for customer wise. We have run this one. Now if you see that C002 having this minus 7,000 balance, C001 it's a this balance, 4 this and 3 this one. C002 it's having a minus 7,000. Let's just verify why it's negative. C002 like 200 it's a withdrawal, and C002 withdrawal 5,000. So total withdrawal is minus 7,000. Means it doesn't have any deposit, only withdrawal, right? So that's why it's a minus 7,000. Okay. Most frequent transaction type. So here we can easily identify that which are the transaction, which transaction will be the most frequent transaction. So here we are grouping by this transaction type and taking the counting and comparing the values, and then we are finally printing the key. So let me run this one. So now most frequent transaction type is the deposit, means based on the count actually it's trying to identify that which one is the most frequent transaction. The final one is the regional transaction summary. So for that we are going to use the location for it, right? Based on the, we are grouping by this location, and then also we are taking this transaction type and then amount. Okay, so regional transaction summary, like based on the, we are actually basically doing the first of all the prioritizing the location, and after that we are grouping by the type. So regional wise we can find out the transaction summary. Let me run this application. So if you see that regional New York for this one, and this is the withdrawal, then Chicago deposit this, Los Angeles. So these are the transaction summary based on the region, right? So this is all about this financial transaction in a real world scenario, how you are going to use the advanced Java stream to doing our calculation more easy in case of the transactional thing. So using this we can, it's, those things are not limited to these activities. There are some other activities also we can do using this advanced Java stream. For the time being this is all actually. If you guys have anything, please do let me know in the comment section. Thanks for your time. See you in my next videos. Bye bye.